And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Late Show. I'm your host, Kerry. Not with me, as usual, is Brad Hatcher. He's just not in a good place right now. You guys send him some good vibes and good thoughts. He really could use them. Standing in, our good friend from Crypto Reality. You can find him on YouTube, Patreon, Mark Zasky. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you today?
Pretty good. I think we're gonna have a good show. We had Shannon on Sunday for Sunday Encounters, and I wanted to be there, but it was a bad time, and so I said I'll get Shannon back because I listened to it, and there was a lot of similarities, not just the location, being pretty close to one another from yours to mine, and even around the same time frame.
Right.
There were a lot of similarities in there, and I thought maybe we could get into those a little bit first. There's something I've been wanting to do. So before the mood changes, I've been wanting to read this for a long time. This is my favorite comment ever, and I just wanted everybody to hear it. I think I might have taken it down.
It's that good. It's that good.
It's that good. Yes.
Okay.
And it's from our good friend Blues and G Music. This guy's my hero. Telling you, someone made a comment. We had Dixie Dobbins. She's 10 years old. She had an experience. We had her on the show. I wasn't able to make that one either. We had Dixie on the show, and she did great, I thought. But this was laying in the comments, and I just want this comment is one thing, but my boy Blues and G Music's response. You guys got to hear it. It's so awesome. It's very smart aleck. So just be prepared. But this is the original post. Your little girl's being rude again. She keeps talking when you're talking. You have to teach your kids manners. We can't hardly hear anything you're saying. Of course, they're going to throw a double negative in there. That was the comment. This is the reply. From Blues. Sorry, Blues. I told you I was going to do this. Of course, the little girl should understand you aren't just a random viewer surfing YouTube videos looking for a video. You're searching for a professional quality production, not some rude child who, despite her seeing something few do, should still mind her manners. I know I always expect other people's kids to meet up to my expectations. You'd set a sterling example of etiquette and proper behavior. A 10-year-old should know how to behave in a manner consistent with your high standards. Not to worry, I remember when I had my expectations dashed by an unruly child. It really hurt my feelings. I cried myself to sleep. Nervousness should never be an excuse for a poor performance on YouTube. Can't imagine why the people who produce this content didn't contact you to get your list of expectations before they aired this live stream. It's unacceptable. Hopefully, you'll have your hefty ticket price refunded. That's a mic drop. It's terrible that these kids today don't know what you expect for your money. Maybe you should find another channel so you can give your intelligent, measured criticism to those people too. I wish the entire YouTube content creators would contact you before presenting content that doesn't meet your exacting standards. Nervous kids who've been scared or traumatized should simply get over it and be professional. Their excitement about being on TV shouldn't interfere with your viewing experience. I hope your sniveling remark actually makes a difference. I'm certain thousands are worried about offending you. Hopefully, if you leave enough of your vaunted advice, it will make a difference. Here's an idea. Why not start your own channel, give tips, instructions, pointers, and critiques of various YouTube content? I'm sure you'd have tens of thousands of people subscribing every day. I know I would. Especially the calm, measured, finely honed method of use to inform those who make the videos of your displeasure without being rude yourself. There's millions of people worldwide obviously hungry for your expertise and knowledge.
That's the longest comment ever, man.
Beautiful. That's poetry.
It's good.
Yeah, especially when look. when you don't have to say anything back and everybody else jumps in.
I
usually
like this
pin
stuff.
those. I usually pin those. So sorry. Before we got into this seriousness, I wanted to read that. I've been wanting to read it for a long time, and thank you for that, Blues. I don't even know if he's here. Usually he is. I don't see him. But all right, our guest tonight, he is from South Mississippi. Shannon, he was here with us Sunday. And I'll tell you what, man, since you've already kind of gone through it, do you just want to just kind of summarize what happened? And then maybe we'll go back through a little bit of what you might have noticed before you experienced anything.
Right. Okay. It was mid-October during bow season, and I bow hunted, shot a lot of archery back then, and just an average day in South Mississippi during October, hot, mosquitoes everywhere, you know, during early October bow season, and I went and climbed up in my tree stand, and everything was normal about 2 hours before dark on my family land here. Actually, probably not an eighth a mile from actually my dad's house to the woods. And where I'm at there, it's on the Big Biloxi River. It's probably within where I'm at another, say, quarter mile. You'd be on the river, and just I had a good many deer, not a pile of deer coming there, but good many, enough to to hunt. And I decided I was going to try to take me one that evening, and like I said, climbed up in the tree. Everything went like normal. I had my camo, my bow, compound bow, and everything sitting there and loving the wildlife, looking, watching. I had a corn feeder there at the time, feeding corn, apple corn, and watching the squirrels, the birds, and other wildlife would come up here and there at times. And it's been, like I said, it's been 12 years ago, if my memory is correct. It might have been a year more than that, but it was about roughly 12 years ago it happened. This took place, but I guess it was good 15, 20 minutes for that. Anybody that hunts knows that prime time, right when they usually step out. It's done already. Most of the time the sun's hitting the top of the trees, and you can't see in the woods, but you can. I had an open area there about 50 by 40 probably yards, 50 yards wide and about 40 yards deep. And the first thing that I noticed, usually I've always been there. I got pretty good hearing, or I did then, and I heard something coming a good ways off to the woods. And it was real faint at first, and then it was getting louder and louder the closer it got. And at first, in my mind, then I heard a pretty good sized limb break, and I figured, a deer hit it with its leg or stepped on a limb or whatever. And I was like, man, this thing here sounds like, it ain't no little doe. It sounds like a bigger deer. And the closer it got, I said, this might be 2 or 3 deer, and I started getting nervous right off. I ain't even seen the deer yet. And I was always bad about that during archery, being as close vicinity, having to get them so close.
Right.
For a shot. And as soon as I seen movement through the pine trees, because my uncle, about 3 or 4 years before that, he had all the virgin pines cut out. So it was just there was still a lot of smaller pines and bay trees and not many oak trees right there where I was at. It was mainly more like a branch, wet area behind that. And I was on the one dry spot there by, there's a big pond there too. My family's 3.5, I think it's 3.5 acre pond. And, I just seen movement, dark, it's like a silhouette, something moving that was big through the trees. Cause like I said, it done was getting dark in the woods. You couldn't hardly see, through the trees very far. And I said, in my mind, I was like, this is a big buck because it looked big, really big. And I really wasn't expecting no real big mature deer where I was at. And I mainly been seeing does and a couple young yearling bucks, little 4-pointers and spikes and stuff, nothing real big. And in my mind, I was going to shoot a doe that day. And for meat. And carry the thing, I'm pretty sure it was on when it first approached my feeder. I had it made out of old, we used to make them out of PVC pipe and just fill them up, put a coffee can on the top.
Yep.
Just the easy thing, and it held about a
6 or 8 inch PVC, hold about
right.
a bag and a half, 4 foot tall.
That's exactly right. And
done that.
Yeah.
Not legal, by the way. Not legal.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, I had to say it wasn't legal. Yep. And
statute of limitations has run out, buddy. You're all right.
Right, exactly. Even on your own private land, it don't make sense. Even on your own land, it ain't legal. But
yeah. I've outlawed my share.
Yeah. And like I said, when I seen that shadow movement, the dark movement, I got even nervouser. And I remember my arrows started on my wrist. I was so nervous because I shoot fingers, and I had my fingers on my string, and it was just a dancing on that wrist. And I was like, God, the deer's going to hear that, So I took my hand off, and my leg was jumping. I had the deer fever, buck fever, they call it, and I ain't even seen the deer. Supposedly I thought it was a deer, and then it seems like it was there a long time, but it was like I said, edge of the woods, and my feeder was around 5 yards in the clearing from the back of them trees. So between the feeder, the feeder was strapped on a small pine tree, about a 10-inch, I guess about 8-10-inch pine tree. And behind it, it was open like about 5 yards back, and then the wood line started. And that's where I was seeing this supposedly deer. And then it just stepped out like it just...
I mean, what did you see it, what it was then?
Oh yeah, when it started to step out, I knew something wasn't right. I knew it wasn't a deer as soon as I seen it decently clear. And as it come out, like I said, it was stooped. That's why I'm pretty sure it was on all fours. And it grabbed a pine tree. Let me get the sides right. Yeah, with its left arm. No, I'm sorry, his right arm. And I don't think he needed help pulling up, but when he came up, his hand was on a pine tree, and actually the top of the pine tree shook. He got up, and it kept getting up, and he was bigger and taller and taller. And my mind, I'm talking about, it was just, I was in awe. I didn't know what to think at that time. And I had an open mind,
You had to think it for a moment that it's somebody, right?
Yeah, which I was close already. I forgot, I said Sunday, But the feeder was roughly just 30 yards from my tree stand. That's not very far.
Yeah.
That's a good bow shot. So that's pretty close already. And it was about 5 yards behind that at this point at the tree line. So about 35 yards in. And I do everything in yardage because that's how I learned shooting 3D archery. And
It's fine.
by judging yardage, I do everything in yardage, not feet.
Every American here can multiply times 3.
Yeah, exactly.
At that distance, Shannon, how big do you think he was, height and weight, when he stood up?
I'm 6'8" and 370 pounds. Then I was probably about 350. And like I said, I'm 6'8". I figured he was at least 7.5 foot tall. That's what and I was up on an incline too. My tree stand wasn't, I can't remember, it was either 10 or 12 foot tall. It wasn't very tall because I hand built the thing out of 2x6s and 2x4s because I already had a bad back, and me being so big, I wanted to be very sturdy. So I didn't really get high, very high anymore in a tree. And because another reason, I was even higher, about 8 or 10 feet above that, because I was up on a hill cliff of the pond dam. So I was either up higher, and the area I could see and where normally the deer and it was at is like a little bottom below me. So I was elevated, probably 20 foot with the cliff, with the hill, the pond dam. But yeah, I'm figuring about 7.5 foot. It could have been closer to 8. All I can tell you it was big. And I'm figuring I've never been good with weight, but oh my gracious, 500-600 pounds at least.
We don't know the density of their muscles.
No, this thing was thick, man. Yeah, thick bodied in the chest. And I noticed when you towed yours, Carrie, the only thing different, mine, he was really big up in the chest, but he was a little bit more slender than I think you described the one you saw.
Yeah, I saw was shaped like a barrel. Just like Big Show, the wrestler. Just like that.
Right. This one was more like a shack build. Not quite as big. I described it like a big, muscular basketball player, but muscled up, big. But not like, thick, just all over, but it was huge. Still, but yeah, it stood up, and I don't think it noticed me. I had was playing the wind. I don't even think it seen me right off. I think it was there to either one, I had a lot of corn disappearing, and I think it was eating the corn. It was apple corn. So, that would draw, it seemed a booger loves it too, but I think that's one reason it came, or two, it possibly could have been there to try to, find a deer. I heard they catch deer too, and, feed on deer or whatever they can get. But I'm pretty sure it was there for the corn, and because I was feeding crazy like the week or two before. My corn feed, it just elevated. It went like the past 2 or 3 weeks before that, I was feeding like 2 sacks a week, and I don't have that many deer. I didn't have that many deer come 40-pound bags.
That's a herd. That's
yeah.
A lot.
Plus, even feeding the coons and the birds and the squirrels, I knew better. And where I was at, you couldn't see footprints. Even the deer prints, you couldn't see them very well because of all the foliage and where they cut all the trees down. It was little pieces of trees, you know, just died and starting.
Yeah.
You just couldn't see. There wasn't hardly no dirt there. And in my mind, I thought maybe some hogs was coming through because where I'm at, actually it's right off of Highway 49 is where I was at on the highway, and straight behind where I was hunting is the Grand Bear Casino, Grand Bear Golf Course. The casino built the Grand Bear Golf Course 8 miles behind my dad's house. So and they had problems with hogs coming rooting their greens up because I got a cousin that works heads on the greens. He works the main guy on the greens. So I figured it was, you know, hogs eating all my corn really. And I had my
Were you seeing hog sign?
Not really. That's the thing. I wasn't seeing a lot of sign. That's what making sense. You know, they tear everything. Reason I thought it was hogs because my feeder had been tore off the pine tree. The strap was popped, and you just can't break no ratchet strap easily. It was a brand new ratchet strap, you know. Just put it on there that summer, and in my head I figured maybe a hog. You know how sharp a hog's teeth and tusk. I figured they hit it and just broke, you know.
Yeah.
And in my head, you know, that's what I was figuring. But yeah.
That's the only explanation when you don't have anything else on your radar.
Exactly. You know, it was just automatic. I knew what it was as soon as it started standing up. I knew what it, you know. When I got a good sight and it stood all the way up, I knew exactly what it was. It wasn't, you couldn't have been nothing else.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I watched some of the shows and I watched YouTube here and there. And when I was little, I used to go in the library and read stuff about the cryptids and Bigfoot, you know, all that. But like I said, they call them boogers mainly down here.
Yep.
Yeah. And I've heard stories of my great grandparents talking about stay out of the woods, the boogers will get you. And actually, this was on their old land. But I didn't think nothing of it. When you're little, you just think it's something to keep you in the house at dark, you know.
Every single person you talk to says that.
Yeah.
They didn't believe a word of it.
Yeah. And, you know, and everybody talks around here, everybody's got booger lights, you know. Where did that come from? A booger light.
A street light is a booger light in the South
That's
Mississippi.
right. That's right. And that's what my grandpa and them used to call it, booger lights.
Mine too.
And he had 2 of them on his one on the side of the house and one in the front.
Wow.
Yep. And I just didn't know, you know, that when I was younger, you know.
So look, man, you're in this situation. You are on. You're 12 feet off the ground on a ladder stand, essentially a tree leaner, looking at this thing 35 yards, 100 feet away, essentially.
Yep.
Right there. It's just about dark. Can you make out any detail at all? You just see an outline.
Pretty good. No, I can see pretty good detail. Carrie, this one to me looked not monkeyish. It looked more like the caveman type.
Like a dude.
Yeah, like a person with a big, thick brow ridge and its eyes was like sunk in back, you know, in its head a little bit. Yeah, I couldn't tell eye color because it was.
Could you tell what color he was?
Right, yeah, I could tell that. If I had more light, I could have been, but it was a weird color. That's what I tried to describe Sunday night. It was a weird. I've seen coyotes this color. It wasn't a solid color. Like it's like its hair coming out was one color, and toward the tips, it had a red sheen to it.
There's a reason
a
that,
reddish.
that those coyotes look like that. It's camouflage
Yeah,
for
right,
anything down low looking up.
right.
So
And
these things definitely camouflage themselves.
yeah, for sure. And like I like I said last Sunday, I told him its hair on its head coming down was real thick. And to me, well, what I could see, it looked like maybe if a person had dreads for a long time and then they took them down and it was all curled, you know how it'd be all frizzy? And it was just maggled up. It wasn't like flowing hair in the breeze or none of that, you know, like it was manicured or nothing. It was all matted looking, but there's really no telling, mud, whatever. I couldn't really tell, but it looked like it had debris in it and stuff like that. And I think the skin was a grayish with a green tint to it, a light green.
Just
it's
like
hard
we
to
see
describe.
all the time.
Right.
You think it was just the color of his skin? You think he had something on him? I mean, what's your opinion?
His whole body was that color. His face was a little bit darker looking than its arms.
So
Maybe that's how much.
If he wouldn't have been moving, you probably wouldn't have been able to pick him out.
Oh no. He'd have been hid. He could have just stood there in the edge of the woods, and if he'd have been moving, I'd have never known he was there if he wouldn't have stepped out with that little bit of movement.
Can I ask you a question, Shannon?
Yeah, sure.
When you were looking down, was it dusk yet when he was standing there and he looked like he was that color?
Yeah, it was already getting. It was pretty much dark in the woods,
but there was still a little bit of.
I could still in the opening. You could still pretty decent, still see pretty good.
I saw an individual here in Florida around that same time, and really didn't believe that I was seeing what I was seeing. But what it was, I come to know now, is he was actually really light skinned. He was like almost white, and his hair was almost white. And because it was like there was a little bit of light left, he was picking up a little green from the forest by being close to it, and he literally looked like you described, almost to a T. That color, it was almost a lime green, like
right.
But it was dark though in there, and he kind of almost had like a glow. It was just a
yeah. That's what I'm talking about. It was like a grayish, but it had a green shimmer to him. But it wasn't shining. It was just a flat green and gray look. You know, kind of like a. I describe it. I've watched a bunch of zombies. You know how some of them zombies look, you know, when they start their skin, or a dead person?
Yes.
Yeah, that color.
Yeah.
Just with a hint of green to the gray.
Yeah,
but you could definitely see you know, it wasn't like just bam standing out green, but it was there. It was there.
What are you thinking at this point? I mean, are you thinking about releasing an arrow on this guy or what?
Well, no, not at that time. I totally forgot I even had the bow in my lap at that time. It was just fear. I was like just scared out of my wits. And if I remember, like I said, it's been 12 years, at least 12 years ago. I think I moved my leg wrong or something, and my arrow fell off my wrist and hit my bow, my bow, and it made a ting, you know, when it hit. And these things has got good hearing, dude. It was like automatic. He looked dead at me, and it was a male, guys. It wasn't a female. I couldn't. There was a lot of hair and all there, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see no breasts or nothing like that. I'm pretty sure it was a male. But it looked dead at me. I'm talking just like quick. And I knew I was busted. I was like, in my mind, it was like, oh my Lord, now it was like another wave of fear hit me because he knew I was there now.
And that's a different that's a different kind of fear.
Yeah, exactly. It was like
just,
yes, sir.
It's a mixture. To me, it's a mixture of things. It's not knowing. Okay. It's this thing.
It's like I felt my blood pressure rise in my head. My ears started burning. I was like total freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I said, it's not knowing. To me, that's the fear part. You don't know if you're going to get out of there alive. Is one thing.
Exactly.
Fearing death.
And like I got broke up last, Sunday when I did it, and I wasn't expecting to get all emotional about it, but I can't remember which one of the ladies asked me, and I told them, he bluff charged me next, guys. That's what that's the only thing I know to call it. He went to move toward me once he realized I was there, but it was like seconds later. But the first thing I noticed when it seen me, its facial, I could see its facial, it changed. It was like, oh Lord, I'm caught. One of them he had a weird look on his face, like, because he didn't know I was there, and it was like, I'm busted, this person or whatever sees me, and I didn't want that, But it didn't take, after that, though, it wasn't 2 seconds, 3 seconds later, he got the meanest, devilish looking look on his face, like he was pissed then. Like, his his cheeks blowed up, and he started huffing through his nostrils, and it was, you could hear him breathe. He started breathing heavy, and the only way I could describe it, sounded like he had a bad chest cold. You could hear it like in his chest, phlegm or something. I don't know how to describe it, but you could hear him, and he was blowing out his nose, and his cheeks blowed up like he was blowing air out his mouth. And that's when he done the first, and he yelled at me or hollered or whatever you want to call it, the booger did, but it jumped forward because, one steps, I would say, is probably at least 4 foot or so for something like that, and then it stopped about 3 foot, 4 foot, I say 3 to 4 yards past the feeder towards me. But he moved so fast, it was like, like you watch them sprinters take off the line. Mm-hmm. It was like that. And then he slammed on brakes just as quick. And debris from his feet, he hit the brakes on so hard, debris from his feet through little sticks and twigs, and that really, I'm talking about, I felt like jumping out of the tree and just running, but I knew that was been the stupidest idea I could have done, because big as I'd have probably broke my neck, and it was,
well,
that wasn't feasible, but it hit my mind to just flee, but
well, it's that sense of power, I think, that when you get it and you see that this thing has got it all over you, that you probably don't stand a chance, especially having a butt.
Oh yeah. I mean, I forgot. I didn't mention last Sunday too. I had a 22 Heritage on me, little 6-shot 22 Magnum. That wouldn't have did diddly squat.
Might as well have spit.
But I had it in my holster. I use it for snakes or finishing off a deer. If it's still the deer trying to, might make the best shot, I can go ahead and finish the deer off. But because I run in a few water moccasins and copperheads.
How
on the way
deep in
there.
are you? How far are you from your vehicle?
I walked all the way from my dad's house.
How far? That's what I'm asking.
From the house?
How far were you from any safety whatsoever? Like a vehicle or
Not
the house?
big as I was, I couldn't have ran it. I wouldn't have got away. I don't know, probably it ain't no more than probably 800 yards from my dad's house.
Wow.
That's half a mile.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If that far, Kerry. If that far.
Far enough.
And right above that's my grandma in them's old house. Her old brick home that's been there since the Depression days. So
to me, that's it. That's that trapped feeling. I'm so far
Right.
away from getting out of here. And here's this.
and I
thing
knew with
mad
my
at me
back
right
and my
here.
health, even back then, I couldn't have made it. And like I told the ladies last Sunday, when that happened, the first thing after that, I thought in my mind that I wasn't going to make it back to my family. You know, it's God's honest truth. And I got so scared, like I told them, I pissed all over. I couldn't hold, I just couldn't have no control over it. I just wet myself.
Understandable,
Nothing
too.
I could do about it. And it was like, for me, it was drastic, you know. And ever since, like I said, this happens, I've had anxiety terrible since it's happened. Bad. I've never had it until this took place.
Yeah, well,
I
you're holding this objective truth that essentially no one else knows. You
Right.
know, a very small percentage of people.
I'm not spoke to nobody but y'all last Sunday about it ever. You know, so.
I thought you had told it one time before.
Yes, I'm sorry I did. It was a while back. I'm sorry I did. You're right. I sure did. But it wasn't as detailed. It wasn't like this because that time I didn't even remember half of what. My mind totally blocked this out for a long time, guys. I couldn't remember. It was like, I don't know how the mind does this. It's a powerful thing, but it's like, I haven't been in the hunting for 12 years, you know. I quit shooting bow, and I used to shoot semi-pro archery, you know. And it was like every time I pull a bow back to practice, I'd see this booger in my head. And I just got where I just quit shooting the bow totally.
Well, I think this is where the imbalance comes from when it comes to post-traumatic stress, especially is these, I talked about it on a show with Tex, or these intrusive memories, you know, these things that I think your psyche is trying to protect you from, but they're coming through anyway from time to time. Yeah. And then all you got to do is get that memory, and you get that feeling. That was what I had to deal with.
I had a short term when we went down in that one episode in the beginning, and I got hit with the branch. I remember being so freaked out when I was in there, and it was actually your encounter describes the exact time of what happened to me and all that stuff. And my wife was witness to it, and I filmed it, but I didn't remember it happening. When I came out of that ditch, I could not. She said, "What happened?" And I said, "Nothing. Let's go." And she was like, "What?" It sounded like you got blasted or something, and I couldn't remember what happened. All I was thinking was get to the car, go, leave, you know. And
like when that thing yelled, y'all, I could feel it in my chest. It was so loud. It was like I said, it yelled at the same time it done that charge deal, and that's when after that yell, I just wet myself. I had no control over it.
That's frightening, man.
And it was like, and then that's when I got the thought in my head, you know, I'm just not gonna make it back home, you know. And I wasn't that, like I said, I wasn't that far. It was just, I just knew I wasn't gonna make it back home, and it stopped that, like it stopped, and that's when it started doing the mumbling stuff. I don't know if it was trying to communicate with me or that thing was cussing me out. I don't know what it was, or talking to another one, but it was moving its head around and doing arm gestures and like, flapping its arms at me. He was pissed off at me big time.
Maybe trying
Like
to get
he
you
did not.
to move.
Yeah, basically, you're right. That's what I took out of it. What is doing the way his arms, he was doing his arms like I didn't need to be there. It was just, I don't know if he was trying to make me leave or what, but.
And there you are, frozen, not able to go anywhere.
No, I couldn't do nothing. I was like just petrified at that time, and
you sat through it, man.
Yeah, and then it done it was just a bunch of mama. I couldn't understand none of it, but some of it sounded like it was trying. It sounded like it was trying to say word. I don't know, but it was some type. To me, it sounded like some kind of language or something. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then it done it yelled again, but it was this yell was a little different, and I felt it in my chest again, and I don't know what come over me. He done another kind of a small jump toward me, and it hit me like I knew 100% that he was coming to get me. And before I knew it, Kerry, I put my hand back on my string and had it on the knock, and I pulled back, and I'm shooting then I was shooting a 72-pound dart and lightning with hatchet cams. It was a fast bow back then.
That's a hoss.
Yeah, and I was shooting basically instinctive then, hunting without sights, and I would use the air and shoot instinctive, and that way I normally shoot sights when I shot all my competitions and scopes and all this, all the whistles on my bow I could have, and stabilizer and all that.
So how did you get out of there, man? What happened?
I pulled back and I let the air go before I even realized what I'd done, and I just centered it up on him, and yeah, next thing I heard the whack when it hit him. I'm talking, it hit hard, and
what were you thinking?
It was the only thing it done. It hit it and it'd be its left side. No, yeah, let me get it right because it was facing me. Right below the chest muscle, where you figure the ribs would start.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it sounded like. It actually hit a big rib because it was way louder than it would have, hitting a deer.
Mm-hmm.
In the front, even in the front shot, it white because I was shooting a 25-12 full length aluminum Eastern Air back then with 150 grain Muzzy broadhead, fixed blade broadhead. It wasn't mechanical, so and the dang air didn't penetrate that big hoss, but about a quarter of what I'd say more than half the air was still sticking. You can see the fletching, and this thing moved so fast. When it hit, it screamed. It made a noise, and the only thing it did, it might have done a half a step back to going back into when it hit, and it slapped the arrow and it broke the arrow off. The aluminum arrow snapped. as he was hollering. I don't know. It's probably, I just figured it was a reaction from the pain or hitting it or whatever. So, don't everybody talks about, you got a high powered rifle, it ain't going to do me. I'm like you. If you had a decent sized rifle, you could take one of them things down if you had to.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no doubt.
If it'll take down an
There's no
elephant,
doubt.
it'll take down one of these
yeah,
things.
because that air, I promise you, he knew he was hurting when that air hit him. But
but
and the
I mean,
next
you
thing,
shot at it. That's what's perplexing me, is that you loosed an arrow on this guy.
I wasn't gonna let it just kill me without fighting.
Hey, I hear you. Look,
But
you can't explain to nobody else. Anybody else has anything to say about that? I'm not coming down on you at all.
Yeah, I did feel bad afterwards, though. That's the bad thing, the weird thing about it.
Okay, look, man. Let me finish saying what I'm gonna say. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
You keep stepping on me here.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're just trying to have a discussion, but we kind of get around a little bit on these shows and try to let everybody get a little word in. But what I was going to say is, you loosed an arrow on this thing.
Right.
Okay. To me, that's suicide, a death sentence. Of course, you can't know in the moment what the hell's going on, because you have no idea what this really is. You gotta have a sense of what it is. It's got to be a Sasquatch, whatever everybody's been reporting in the woods. These were my thoughts. But there wouldn't have been no way I'd have shot at him unless he was close enough. You had to reach out and get him, but he was being aggressive towards you. So anybody that has anything to say about that, until you are in that situation, that life or death, it's me or him, I got to do something situation, you really don't have anything to say about it. So just remember that in the comments. Yeah, you all, and leave a comment, please.
Yeah,
it was.
I can tell you, I think that that's a rational decision. I honestly would have loosed one on him too. I have every understanding of who I am and how I react in situations like that, and I'll defend myself. I would choose to defend myself where I was pinned. I think you did the right thing, and probably, you're still here, so
right,
yourself, man. That thing, that thing charged you twice.
Right, that's
close.
I thought if a third time it was going to be over. If he'd done it again, he wasn't going to stop.
That's scary, man. It's frightening.
Me in my situation, I wasn't 100% sure that this wasn't somebody messing with me until I got to my truck. I was pretty sure, but I wasn't 100%. That was my issue. Of course, the guy I saw wasn't as big as the dude you saw, apparently. I mean, this guy was pretty big, but from a distance and being freaked out about it, When
you were describing that encounter and that situation you described put me right in the field in a couple of situations that I've been in where leaving, I thought about situations like what you're describing and what I would do if I was in those situations and where my with me. And all I can say is, I don't ever want to be in that situation. I don't ever want to be in that situation.
No,
it's the most terrifying thing because I know what you saw. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I don't want that thing doing. I would probably have done the same thing just out of fear.
Basically, that's why I shot. I did it before I even thought about doing it. I just did it.
Yeah.
And it was just that thought in my head that I thought I was gonna make it back to my, my kids and my family, and I figured this the only chance I did have. And like I said, by that second time he done that charge, I want to say he was probably within 20 to 18 yards by then. So he was close, and all I can remember is when I shot, he was acting like he was fixing to do it again. Another charge, and I just let one go. I let it go. Basically, I snapshot, I just pulled back and let it go. And I didn't even take that time to well, when you shoot an instinctive, I don't hold very long anyhow, but I shoot it almost the same as I would a longbow or a recurve, but with a compound, you got that, do have that let off, but I don't even remember aiming. My head was so messed up. I just shot. I ain't gonna say I was lucky that I hit it, I guess, but I don't. And when you think back, I don't see how. I guess it was just instinct me shooting the bow so much too. That
Yeah, you shoot a bow enough, you get good enough.
Yeah,
at it,
I wasn't. I'm not gonna try to. Right, I done it daily practice, and I shot like 100 arrows a day when I used to shoot competition. So it was almost like natural.
Did it look back at you, Shannon, when after you shot it? Did it look at you like and hold you responsible? Like it was like what was going on and cognition and all that?
I want to hear how you got out.
It was. As soon as it hit it and he slapped the arrow, it was bent over just a little bit, and like I said, it looked up at me. And it done as it was turning, it screamed, and there's no way that arrow just stopped him. He could have still had me if he wanted me. I don't know, by the grace of God, he turned and left. I'm talking about like a jet rocket, like you blasting him off, out of a gun. He just so fast. He left, and he was going through the woods screaming and hollering. You could hear him like a bulldozer breaking trees. I don't know if he had fallen. I never heard like a crash, like a deer crash, but I heard him go a good 100, probably 100 yards or so. And it sounded like he stopped, and he done up some screaming and hollering again. And then I heard it leave, but he wasn't running or moving as fast. As he did the first, as far as I could tell, it didn't sound like he was, but I could still hear him, going to, and then just nothing, silence after that. And I sit there I couldn't tell y'all how long I sat there in that tree trying to get myself back I was so scared just to climb down that tree and put my foot on the ground. It was, I might have stood up there an hour, guys. It was a long time,
You didn't want to leave. You don't want to turn your back
to
that, especially.
And all I had was a little bitty flashlight that had the little AA batteries in it, because, I was right there home, basically, where I was raised. I lived. Man, I played in them woods since I was 8 years old, running around with my pellet rifle and never seen nothing. Yes, I remember hearing things now once this has happened. I put two and two, like you did, together, and I've seen, things that I didn't know what it was at the time, and heard things, and things has happened. My uncle up there at my great grandma's place, he raised rabbits. Something would keep getting in. He got a big, huge, he don't even raise them no more. He moved. They don't even live there. They moved back to town. They was up there about 4 or 5 years, and they still own it, but they don't even live there no more. He built a huge barn, metal building, and he used to have show rabbits. And something ever so often would come in there and tear the cages to pieces and take some of his rabbits. I'm like, yeah, what do you think that was now? In my head, I really believe it was a bugger. Now.
Hear it all the time. And it's both ways. They either don't tear anything up, latch everything back, and there's just something missing, or there's a big hole in the in the wire and everything's gone. But isn't it amazing how we rationalize things, especially
Yeah.
when you're an expert in the woods,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was, like
Yeah.
I felt like I was. Any of that stuff that happened that went on, I knew
Right.
exactly what it was. You couldn't tell me it was anything else. It has to be a bug doing that.
Mhm.
That's got to be, ridiculous to think of now.
Right.
That you have this awareness.
So how
Go
did you
ahead.
get out of that deer stand?
Do what?
How did
Sorry,
you
I couldn't.
deer stand?
I eventually just climbed down, tied my bow, and pulled my string up, and tied my bow on the string and let it down. And I had that. The scariest thing was the walk back home in the dark.
Oh God!
I'm telling you guys, my head was on a swivel like you wouldn't believe, and it was pitch dark. And every little noise in the bushes, every little thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my Lord, my heart would jump out of my chest.
It's the worst part.
Yeah, it's the worst part. And that walk back, although I had that little dinky light, it didn't shine. It wasn't very bright, but
nevertheless, it's
right.
dark out.
I'm glad I had it, but it was still dark and you couldn't see.
If you'd have had 2 Q beams, it wouldn't have mattered.
No, it wouldn't have mattered. No.
So talking to God, any of that?
Oh yeah, praying the whole time. Praying the whole time. Just let me make it back to the house.
So this
was
12
rough.
years ago, right? 12 years ago.
Right, 12 years.
And you have you hunted since?
Not a day.
Wow.
Not a day. I've been to the hunt. I went to the hunt camp this year for the first time. We have a hunting camp in Natchez. We hunt up by the Homenchitto River, and there's sightings all over that place too. That I've heard people talk about. They're up there too.
They're all over the place here, man. I was just talking to Mark about right out here. I've already heard one knock. I could probably go out in these woods, knowing with what I know now, and find some kind of sign, especially around that pond.
Right.
I don't want to do it here.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get ready to move, which is going to be soon.
Somehow, I'm wanting to think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks later. I eventually went back up there to the stand where it happened, but I brought my 35 Remington lever action with me. And I went up there, and guys, when I went up there, my that wood tree stand that I built I'm talking some big old nails. I couldn't tell you what size penny they was, and 3-inch screws was tore to pieces. So either it came back or some of its friends came back. That's the only thing I can think of, and tore that tree stand. And all in that area looked like you took a dang bush hog down there and just went crazy. They tore that area up. So I have not, since that day, I haven't even been down there fishing in 12 years since that day. I tell you, and I used to fish that pond every summer, for bass.
It's understandable. This is what people don't understand. And I get this all the time from other people, and I know they're just trying to be hateful or hurtful, and it really doesn't matter, but I hear these things. People send them to me. It's, Carrie's afraid of Sasquatch. He's scared to go out there with them. And, it's not really that. I'm not afraid that anything is going to hurt me. I mean, back then, I was afraid. I feared death at one point.
Right.
I don't fear death anymore. It's knowing that I'm going to die that brings a sense of meaning and direction to being alive. It's the urgency of accomplishment. In a way,
that opened my eyes. Yeah.
The need to express love now and not later.
Right.
Don't fear death. Fear living a life that you could have accomplished something and didn't. That's what you should be afraid of. Neil deGrasse Tyson
Exactly.
said, be ashamed to die until you have helped score some victory for humanity, or something to that effect. But it's not that. It is the way you know you're going to react and cannot control it.
Mm-hmm.
It's you cannot help to, especially to go back to the same place and wonder what's behind every bush.
Right.
You just, there's no comfort in that. So it's not necessarily fear as it is. Maybe it is fear. It's the fear of not wanting to have that feeling, that reaction to going out there and not being able to control it for a very long time. I had that problem, and that I've actually talked to people about. So it's not so much that you're afraid to go out there as it is for me. This is for me. I'm not speaking for you, but I understand not wanting to go back to any woods because you're just not comfortable there. You're definitely not going to be able to hunt again. For how are you going to focus on? Look, Mississippi is the second largest population of deer in the whole United States.
That's
next
right.
to Texas, over 3 million white-tailed deer. There's a bunch of them, but they're hard.
Yeah.
They're hard to kill. They're hard to hunt.
Right.
You know, you've got to be you got to be on your game. There's no way you're going to be able to go out and do that, and focus on doing that, knowing what you know. And it's a shame. It is that we don't have any real information to help us. It's why we try to help as many people as we possibly can. It's why we don't care about Sasquatch. We care about the people that run into them and how that affects you. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah.
It's more than just being afraid.
Yeah. Like I said, I used to have coon dogs, used to coon hunt, and you do all that at night. And this old boy, I got rid of I had some young dogs. Of course, I ain't did that at all. Of course, I ain't going. You think I ain't gonna get out there in the daytime? I surely ain't getting out there at night in the middle of them woods coon hunting. And you get in some places already are kind of spooky enough sometimes at night, chasing them coon dogs going to the tree. And I definitely wasn't gonna do that no more. So I actually just gave my 2 young dogs away. Wasn't long after that, and I paid good money for them dogs when I first got them as pups, but I just gave them away. I'd rather see somebody get them and use them than just sit there, in the kennel and just go to nothing. So
are you? We get ready to wrap this up, man. Are you planning on going back, trying to hunt again, or what?
Yeah, man. I get ready every year. I get ready here lately. This year I got ready to go, and I went to the camp for 3 days. Like I said, and I could not leave the camp. Could not leave the camp.
It's rough like that, man.
And it's aggravating. And the worst thing about it is when I didn't know why. When my mind blocked it out for so many years, I didn't know why I'd get ready every year, buy me a new rifle, and season would open, and I'd go off and sell my rifle and just out the blue. And I'm like, why do I keep doing this every year? It's like
avoiding it
until it all started pouring back on you. What was it that made it come back to you?
Actually, it's watching shows on. Just happened to watch them on YouTube one day, and I started having dreams about it again. It all started flooding back, little by little, and that was another whole awakening. It was like, really, this happened.
Look, it happened to me, man. It took 8 years. It's his fault. This guy right here, it's him and his wife's fault. Because that's what I was watching. when all this stuff started coming back. I don't know if it's some kind of excitement maybe that someone was actually getting somewhere and catching these things on film, and you could actually see the things in the bush. No one else was doing that, at that time that I had seen. Not very good anyway, and that's what got me. I think really, that's why I contacted Mark.
Yeah.
To tell him what I had gone through. His first person I had told the whole story to. What happened to me was Mark.
Your encounter has a lot of similarities, man, to Carrie's.
Mike Woolley, same thing.
What you described as a Bigfoot eyewitness in the coloration, a lot of people question you on that, but not me, brother, because that's what I saw, and I know what it is. He had really light skin, and it glowed in that dusk forest tree line. It looked so strange. It was almost like he had one of them sticks that you break. What are they called? The luminar sticks, where you snap them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Color of one of those luminar sticks.
Yeah.
And it really is responsible for why crypto reality uses that color. It's our green glow. That's the color of the Sasquatch in the tree line at night or before dusk, and it's like it's our whole theme, man. So when you were mentioning that to me, I pictured exactly what you saw because I've seen it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, John. He says great testimony. Never heard of a bow hunter who actually loosed one. And there was a question a minute ago, and I think if you want to give that away, what part of Mississippi?
Saucier.
Yeah. Just south of where I am now, 20 miles.
Yep. Just north of Gulfport.
Lovely.
Yep.
Well, brother, look, we appreciate you coming back and talking with us again and reliving it again. I know it, for me and for most others, it does get a little bit easier. The more you talk about it, the more things start to come back to you that you'll remember. And I did, I'd get you in touch with Barb Charlton, who does emotional freedom techniques. It's kind of like acupuncture without the needles. But if you still have those situations where you get that fearful sense out of nowhere, she can help you work through those things. So just let me know. I'll send you her contact anyway, and you can use it or not. It'll be up to you.
Shannon, so Shannon, what you shared tonight, you helped me because I'm one of the ones that's seen the weird one, the white one. That was you know what I mean? And it just feels good knowing somebody else has seen what I've seen. That it was unexplainable at the time, you know what I mean? But so you sharing actually helped me tonight. I just want to let you know that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate you, Mark. Thanks for standing in for Brad. You guys send some thoughts and prayers to Brad right now. He's okay. I'll just say that. I don't want to give a lot of his personal stuff out. He is fine, but he's going through some stuff and needs some positivity his way. So if you think about it, throw Brad in those prayers. And thanks again, Mark, for all that. Shannon, you got my number. Holler at me anytime.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Hopefully we'll see you guys Sunday for either a Sunday conversation or a Sunday encounter. I'm not sure which it is yet. Danielle handles that stuff. But it's been a great show. Thanks everybody for showing up, and y'all take care.